Welcome back to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone. Once again, here's your host, Gary Stevens.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Friday, August 28th. It is the fourth Friday of the month, which means at this time we catch up with things going on with the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Eric DeBoer is on the other side of our table this morning. Eric, good morning. Welcome back, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
We are well. If you have a question for the sheriff, you'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450. Summer winding down.
Yeah, it was the first day of both my kids went back to school this week, and then I tried to drive around between the traffic and the school buses. I remembered why I love the summer so much.
Let's talk about the school buses for a moment or so. I know that the sheriff's office participates in the extra enforcement for the state during the holiday period, and drunken driving is the one for this Labor Day period.
Yes.
But I believe there are some extra eyes watching along the for times for school
buses. Safety.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, so we are blessed enough here in this county to have at least one school resource officer, if not two, in every school district. So as they kind of get ready, they had some training last week to kind of get them back in the mindset, back off the road and back into the schools. But then they get back out and they realize that they're not the only ones that are out of practice, just like we just kind of mentioned, that we all need to get used to driving with school buses stopping in front of us. And so leaving a little bit earlier and just being safe is what we have to do. But the school resource officers kind of know that that's got to get retrained into all of us, so they're going to spend some time making sure the buses are safe. And then they also we assign some area cars to each kind of school district to say, hey, when you're not running calls, when you're not running traffic, let's get in those areas. Let's follow some buses around. Let's just make sure all the kids get to school safe. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, they're our most important resource. So keeping them safe is our first priority. Besides
school bus safety for motorists working with the school buses, the kids themselves need to be aware. And AAA, especially this year, focusing on the e-bike situation.
Yeah, it's funny because these are all things that are coming up in my life personally. My son is of an age where he's first riding the school bus because we've switched school districts. He's at West Ottawa now. So it was his first school bus ride this morning, but also he has an e-bike to make it back and forth from football practice throughout the summer. So we're dealing with all those things. So, yeah, just making sure you're safe, understanding, where cars are coming from. When you get on an e-bike, you almost have to learn the rules of the road a little bit earlier, because while you might be on the sidewalk or on the bike path or on the side of the road, depending on what ordinances for which townships there are, it's where the cars are coming from is something you generally don't think about until you're 16, because you're just riding in a car when your parents take you somewhere. And so going through and trying to make sure everybody's safe and learning what's safe and learning what's legal, that's all something that we all have to work on. But with ordinances being kind of separated out throughout the county, it becomes a little bit hard for us. People come to us for answers, and unfortunately, a lot of times our answer is, it depends where you live.
Yeah, and the kids have to, and we've talked about this before, like in traditional bikes, they got to obey the rules of the road.
Well, and even more than that, right? Because I'd just as soon be safe than right. Like, you might be right in crossing a street after stopping at the stoplight, or stop sign. But if the guy that's crossing doesn't recognize you and hits you, you might be right, but you'll be right in the hospital, and so nobody needs that. So, being a defensive driver starts earlier than 16.
Parking the patients is one thing, but and I talked to this with the sheriff before we took air. In my social media feed, I've been getting a few road rage dash cam video situations, and looking at them, I'm just thinking, not only park your patients, take your patients with you, but also to a certain extent, park your pride.
Yeah. Obviously, pride and anger are the two things that get most of us in trouble. We were talking about that, and I actually thought you were going to bring up Mr. Kozik's again, because I'm actually crestfallen. I heard about it when I was in the lobby, and now I don't know what to do. But yeah, it's one of those things where you might be right, but you start acting silly, and you get out, and somebody gets hurt. We don't want that.
616-395-1450. Let's get to the phones. Good morning. You're on the line with the sheriff.
I got a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
For one, how about that cold case murder thing? Way out on the north side where that woman got murdered. Is that, do you guys working on that, or are you working with Holland, Ottawa, or Holland Township? And what happened to that woman? That husband jumped on the hood and he died. Whatever happened to that case? And did she get sentenced? And how much time did she get? I can hang up and listen.
All right, thank you very much for the call.
Yeah,
Let's not just the two cases the caller had, but
Sure.
cold cases.
Sure.
It's been a little quiet right now.
Yeah, so, ultimately, so back even when I was a detective, we had two detectives specifically assigned to cold cases, and their job was to go back through cases that had been, investigated in the past, look at the existing evidence, and then tie that against, or judge that against new technologies that might be able to evaluate evidence in a new light, right? So, A, it's a fresh set of eyes, B, it's a fresh set of tools. We went through a lot of that process, and we were successful in prosecuting a couple different cases, or at least coming to resolutions. I'm not sure exactly which case he's speaking of, but what I can tell you is all of our cases have been evaluated for technology, right? So that whether that be familial DNA or stuff like that, that's all been gone through, and now it's just trying to find, additional witnesses or whatnot. So I know that we have we don't have two investigators strictly assigned to cold case right now, because all they would be doing is cold case. We were looking to, get a couple more investigators. We're trying to get some more investigators through this budget process. So, but what we do have is a couple people that are assigned as secondary. So we all have primary investigative duties in secondary. There are a couple different detectives that are assigned, trained in cold case, that review all the cold case homicides that we have on a timely basis, and kind of go through and see is there anything new, or has anything developed, or if a new lead comes in, it goes to them so that they are aware of the case. So that's why I believe that's about all the answer I have to that case. Then
let me follow up on a couple of things. When does a case become a cold case? Yeah,
so we have been. I'm trying to think to make sure I don't misspeak. Generally, our cases, our homicide cases that have come up since I've been a detective, have been at least closed, whether they be solved or the person that did it is no longer able to be prosecuted because they passed away or whatever. And so I don't know that I would have a good definition of when it flips from hot to cold, because generally we've closed ours out. The ones that we have were ones back from the 70s that were some old homicides. And I think it all started with that Hope documentary that happened here kind of over by where the Hot and Now used to be on the north side of Holland. There was a woman that was murdered in the Holland area based on some work that was being done there. And that kind of started that whole thing. And then we reevaluated what open homicides we had. So there's just a few of them left, but they're kind of to the point where most of the people involved have passed on. And so, we'll look at it and try and figure out if we can get answers, obviously, but I don't know that we're working actively on anything right now.
And the other thing along those lines is the fact that especially the Janet Chandler case, when that came to light and the cold case worked out on that, and this will be about 20 years ago, that's when, correct me if I'm wrong, the technology to be able to successfully follow up on cold cases really developed. But then over the last few years, because we've had that technology already in place, cases are being solved quicker so that it doesn't become a cold case. You have resolution. Yeah,
and so most of the things it all started, we started getting DNA, and then all of a sudden we were able to use smaller sample sizes of DNA, and then even smaller sample size, and then touch DNA. And so as these little things happen, then it's time for us to say, okay, hold on, wait a minute. Let's check it again. Or we have DNA, we know the profile, but we don't know who it belongs to. Oh, now there's a new way to do it. Let's check out that tool. So yeah, we've been able to go through that. But then, like you said, if we get a new homicide and it's a whodunit, we have all those things. We know to check all those boxes, and you generally get a lead a little quicker. So, and again, our detectives bureau is second to none. I'll put them against any detective bureau out there, and so they've been really good about about usually getting some resolution pretty quick.
All right, 616-395-1450 if you have a call for Ottawa County Sheriff Eric DeBoer, 616-395-1450. Let me discuss a little bit, we haven't talked about it in a while, the county jail.
Yeah.
And how things are going. I know down in Kalamazoo, and this is a subject we've brought up, and I think I've also brought it up with Frank Baker in Allegan County as well, where they're still having problems with the water. It's an old facility and the like. As the Ottawa County Jail is still relatively new, it's been around for a couple of decades, but it's still, compared to some other buildings, it's still relatively new. Are we getting to the point where maybe some cautions need to be put up as to we've got to look at fixing up the place a little bit?
So, yeah, it's actually interesting. I think I saw some headlines on it this week because it came up during the budget process this year for the county. But we have a new facilities director at the county, and we at the sheriff's office love working with him. He's a long-term thinker. He's a great facilities director. But what he wants to do is go through and do an evaluation of all county buildings, and that's going to get done in the next year, and that's why it came up during budget. Because ultimately, when he came on board, we walked him through the facility, and told him about the things that we've been kind of working towards and things that we need fixed. He started realizing that, some of these are getting to be some high-cost things, and so we have to start looking at whether or not we're putting good money after bad. We're at that point in your car where it starts nickel and diming, and you have to figure out if it's time. So this year, there's going to be an assessment done of all county facilities, including the jail, to figure out if it's time and or what the timing should be, or to put out a good plan to use county funds at which buildings at which time. So we hope to have a better understanding of what our plans are for the jail. And so I saw a headline about some improvements at the jail being put on hold, which was kind of a misnomer because we had talked about having an addition on the jail, but if we're going to have to refurb the jail or rebuild the jail, then I'm not going to put an addition on the jail. We'll just deal with that during that process. So I'm excited to look at what we find out this year from the engineers.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, this is the beginning of the process. It's not like, well, we were thinking about doing this, say, in 2022 or 2023, and now we want to have it done now, and it's not at all. No. I mean, we talked about it was the mental health facility at the jail that we were talking about, and it's obviously something that's become an issue in law enforcement over time. So it's something we have to address. But again, it's trying to figure out, where do we get on the schedule for? There's a finite amount of money in the county. And we have to do all the things that are important. So where does this fall, and how big of an emergency is it? An emergency? Is it a big emergency? Is it just something we need to plan for? And so I really appreciate the county administration and the facilities director and our ability to work together to say, okay, let's plan this out, and so that we don't find ourselves going, oh no, we need millions and we need it 3 years ago, because that's not going to work. All right, 616-395-1450. If you have a question for Ottawa County Sheriff Eric DeBoer, Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker is next Thursday. We'll have him on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Sorry there. I was just thinking because, first Thursday is for him, and of course for him, we'll talk about the Allegan County Fair coming up.
Oh, definitely.
This week, it's the Hudsonville Community
Well, if
Fair.
I'm going to be mistaken for someone, if it's Frank, I'm okay with it.
But a fair such as what's going on in Hudsonville this week.
Hudsonville Fair is going on. Yeah.
The department is there because City of Hudsonville is in the contract with the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, we're definitely there. We love it.
Eric, last Tuesday, it came basically to light about the flock surveillance camera system, as it was not on the agenda, but it was brought up during the public comment periods, and I put it in plural. And the board, led by Joe Moss and then Josh Berger, want to do a dedicated workshop on the topic, either late September, early October, next 4 to 6 weeks on the particular matter. You brought it up with your last visit here with us, sort of anticipating what was going to happen, which did eventually happen on Tuesday. Yeah. But before we begin our discussion on that, Eric, what has been the public response to your office, to you in particular, since what happened on Tuesday? Yeah,
sure. So, I mean, ultimately, like we talked about last month, we could read the tea leaves, right? We saw the national conversation starting. And like I told you off air, I'm not so egotistical as to not be questioned. I don't take offense with people asking questions about how we police. I think that's fair, and I think that's how we should do things. So I welcome a conversation with it. And so when it came up on Tuesday, we kind of knew we were going to head that way. We had been told that there was probably going to be some comments about it. And then when I heard about the work session, we decided, well, it's probably time to just kind of tell everybody where we stand, kind of like we had here. And so since then, we've had some media inquiries. Even before that, we'd had a couple emails from some people. Some are looking for information, right? Which I greatly appreciate, because you can't believe everything you read on the internet. I know that's surprising to you, but that's the thing. But we've also just had people that were, wanting to tell me their opinion, and I appreciate that too. And so when they asked questions and I responded, and then they kind of dismissed those responses out of hand. So you realize that some people just aren't going to be convinced, and that's fair too, right? And that's what my conversation was in my media release, and then on some of my follow-up interviews was, we can have this discussion, and at the end of the day, we can disagree. But let's just, let's move on and be civil from there. So,
what about the situation involving vandalism with these units?
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was kind of alluding to. Is if you want to disagree, that's fine. But if you break things and do that in a form of protest, then expect that there'll be consequences, and that's part of civil disobedience, right? And I don't have any problem with people that want to air their grievances, but again, if you break something that's owned by the community, then that'll be charged, and you'll probably more than likely have to pay restitution. And if you're willing to do that to prove your point, then that's fine. Just know that there are consequences. It's free speech. It's not free of consequences. It's just
there's free speech expression,
and then breaking things, right? Yeah. So say all you want, and I'll take that gladly, and I will defend your right to disagree with me vehemently. I will do that all day, but don't break things.
Now, quick question. Are there other companies that provide the service that Flock does?
Yeah, there's lots of different companies that do that. And there are some other technologies out there that are really interesting. As an investigator, I think would be really cool, that I'm not as comfortable with and that we don't use. But you might see those come out at some point. But it's nothing that's I've seen in West Michigan at all.
All right. Where do we move forward if this discussion comes up and suddenly, well, I wouldn't say suddenly, but eventually perhaps Flock's going to have to go away or change things?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if the service is no longer provided, there's not much I can do about it. If a law changes that makes it that it's not useful to us anymore, we'll reevaluate that. But there's some law changes that there's some recommended proposed House bills out there that I don't necessarily agree with, but there's some stuff out there that I would completely be in agreement with. And if the concern is the misuse of the system by members of law enforcement, if they want to put laws that protect it like they do the other databases we have access to, like Secretary of State and LEAN, Law Enforcement Information Network, where we find out, where you live, and if you're wanted, if you misuse that, it's a misdemeanor. I don't have any problems putting that authority on this system as well. Either way, if you misuse it at our agency, you'll be disciplined and up to and including firing and possibly charged with misconduct in office. So I'm not worried about another law that says that, and I'd be willing to uphold that any day because I enjoy the trust of the community, and I want to keep that. And so if that law makes them feel better about it, I will gladly enforce it, but I was going to do it regardless.
What about, and I'm going to bring up a point that I made a few moments ago about the county board taking this up at a dedicated workshop. And it seems as if the board wants to work with the sheriff's office on this, not trying to maybe add a millstone across your
No. I think it's a great idea, honestly. I mean, we were talking even after. The reason I brought up last month is we were planning on putting out a release. Now some things happened in the community that just we didn't feel like the timing was right to talk about this when we were dealing with some other some tragic events that had happened throughout the county. We were ready for the conversation, but the problem is when you put something out on the internet, it's not a conversation. It's here's my stance, and then people want to put their stances, and it's not an actual dialogue. So to go in and have a conversation with the community and say, okay, what are your actual concerns? Is it misuse? Is it you'll see a lot of the narratives have to do with either police officers abusing that system, which we just addressed, or people being pulled over because of bad information. Well, the information that we already have through Secretary of State and LEAN comes back, and there's a lot of times they give you near hits. So like if I put in a plate number, it might say that's stolen, but it's stolen out of Minnesota. We all know at the sheriff's office to double check that. So if you're pulling over on a flock hit because it's wanted without double checking it, you're not doing good police work. And we have policies that say you can't do that. You have to double check it yourselves. But these are the stories that everybody's concerned about. And my response to that when we have this conversation is, yeah, I'd be concerned about it too. That's why we don't ever do that those ways. We are, double checking all our work. So if I can have that conversation in public with the public and with the electeds, then everybody can put some of those concerns aside. So I think that gets us through a lot of it. And then there's the other people that just don't like the thought of that being out there. That's people that we're just going to agree to disagree, and I understand that, and I respect that. And again, I will defend your right to disagree with me,
as long as you disagree within
in the right way, yeah,
within laws,
vocally or with your votes. I mean, I understand that, and that's fine.
All right. Again, 616-395-1450. Have time for maybe a call or two on this particular matter with Ottawa County Sheriff Eric DeBoer. And the reason why I brought up the board is the support the board has for the sheriff's office is well known.
Oh, yeah.
Basic, I wouldn't say blank check, but most of the time, if you say, hey, we need this would be good, the board over the last 3+ years has been very supportive of you.
Yeah, they ask questions. I meet with all the commissioners kind of individually throughout the months. They all ask good questions. They want to make sure I'm doing it the right way and that the sheriff's office is operating in a way that they can be proud of and they can support, because their support is through my budgetary process. Ultimately, I'm the end of the line as far as responsibility goes. They can't take that on, or they can't really tell us what we have to do, but they control our budget. So they're good about asking good questions, and then if I have a good answer, then they're supportive of me, and that's regardless of what affiliation, whether it be party or ideology. They've all, as a group, been very supportive of us at the sheriff's office, and if there's something they disagree with, they tell me about it, and I appreciate that too.
All right. A couple of other final things I want to touch upon. Earlier this week, there was the memorial service for that family in Grand Haven, and that was why, you didn't brought up the flock, but that was there are
things that are more important in this world than some of that. And so taking a minute and maybe not being on social media talking about something we know is going to start a controversy when there's things that this county needs to heal over is, kind of what we were talking about that week.
Was there something that your office would be doing in that situation for the family that was,
attending?
Affected?
Yeah, I mean,
not just attending, but also, it's ever since the crime did happen.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, we've had detectives assigned and just trying to get to the bottom of something that really is never. I mean, regardless of the information we find, there's not going to be anything that you could find that will ever explain it, right? I mean, everybody wants to know the why, and I get that. But can you think of any answer that we could find for you that would explain it? And there isn't going to be one. Nothing can explain that kind of action. So between doing that, just walking with the family, trying to get them the answers that they need or ask for, we provided a little bit of traffic for the sides of the funeral, obviously, and then a lot of our investigators attended just because they needed the healing too.
Yeah, dealing with that, it's the law enforcement aspect of it, but also the psychiatric aspect of it. And
there's a lot of first responders out there that are carrying a lot of baggage, and so as a sheriff, it's my job to try and make sure we can try and deal with that as best we can. So,
if you need more information about what's going on in the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, especially if you have someone involved with, unfortunately, on the wrong side of the law and may be incarcerated, go to myottawa.org under sheriff, and you'll be able to get all that information. Eric DeBoer, as always, thank you very much for your time and your observations. Wish you, all of the men and women in black, well. And if all goes well, we'll do this again in the month of September. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you having me. Thanks. See you next month.
Thank you very much, Eric DeBoer, Ottawa County Sheriff. NBC News, Michael Kastner, straight ahead, followed by WHTC News, and then more Talk of the Town, including Brian Spencer's What's New Around Howland, and Mark DeWitt from Evergreen Commons will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Howland's Cool FM.